I'm going to do a demo of the transition to STP Phase 2 for EXO Employer Services. I will show you what happens immediately after the upgrade and then take you through a whirlwind tour of some of the main changes in the product that directly relate to STP Phase 2. The guide that we have produced explains all of the changes in detail, so when you go through the process yourself, I'd recommend you rely on that instead of my rambling demonstration. You can also visit our STP Phase 2 hub page, shown here, for more information. You can find the link to this in the community forum. So to begin with, I've just upgraded my EXO Employer Services version from 2021.03 to 2021.08, so you can see what happens on login. As a part of the upgrade, a number of items have been updated behind the scenes. For instance, we'll automatically assign an income stream type and tax treatment code to each employee, and we'll automatically update the reporting categories for all of the system-controlled allowances. As we can see on the screen here, we have a summary of the updated employees. As you can see, my list of employees in the demo database aren't exactly an interesting bunch, but in the real world, you will see a list of the STP tax treatment codes, income stream types that will be updated in the background. One of the changes you'll need to get used to is the term payment summary type has been replaced with income stream type or income type. And the biggest change in this area is to the employees currently reported as payment summary type individual non-business or INB. This group now needs to be split up with 3 new income types to be added. So we have the standard salary and waged employees or SAW and the 3 newbies, inbound assignees to Australia or IAA, closely held payees, which is CHP, and the Seasonal Workers Program, SWP. The ATO loves a good 3-letter acronym. There's also a couple of things to highlight about the IAA and also working holiday makers, and that is the country code. You need to set the correct country code for these employees. IAA employees must report the country they were tax resident of before coming to Australia. So for example, my home country is New Zealand, but if I'd been working in the US before coming to Australia, then I would need to report the US if I was an inbound assignee to Australia. Working holiday maker employees, on the other hand, must report their home country. So in that example, I would be reporting New Zealand. If you are a registered employer of working holiday makers, make sure you go to the payroll setup screen and update this particular field. Now let's head over to an employee and check out their income type. You can see the assigned income type on the standard pay tab of the employee maintenance screen. There's a link here that allows us to change it if we need to. And it provides a whole lot of information here on the screen. So I'm going to take the income stream type here and change them to an inbound assignees to Australia and put in their home country code of, let's say they were last in Antarctica, and save. The biggest change to STP, at least from a development perspective, is what's been called the disaggregation of gross, which is a fancy way of saying we're splitting up what used to be bundled up into gross payments. In STP Phase 2, the following types of income have been split out into their own categories. It's paid leave, allowances, which in Phase 1, only some allowances were used to be separated from gross, but now they all are. Overtime, bonuses and commissions, director's fees, lump sum W, which is a return to work payment, and salary sacrifice. To allow for these changes, we have made some updates to the allowance maintenance screen. Where we can, we've automatically mapped allowances to the necessary STP category, but it's important to note that the database doesn't hold enough information about all of the allowances in order to make the necessary decisions on what to map where. So you'll need to go through the list of allowances and update them as necessary, and in some cases create new allowances. Our guide has detailed information on each type of income and what to map where, but I'll show you how we would assign a leave allowance to the correct category, just as an example. So I'll go through to the maintenance screen and open up the allowance. So we'll take bereavement leave as an example. And here we'll take the STP reporting type and set that to ordinary salaries and wages, and then change the leave payment to other paid leave. Just that simple. Now that might have been simple, but an example of where it gets a little more complicated is overtime. Now, I can come over here to our overtime allowance and make this reportable as an overtime payment. Easy, right? Well, I also need to go over to the payroll setup and our pay rate multipliers and do the same for that. It's not too difficult. But where overtime can get interesting is where some payments that an employee is entitled to while working overtime will also need to be reported as overtime payments. For example, if you have a payment for traveling time, any traveling time outside of normal working hours will now need to be reported as an overtime payment and will need its own allowance created. There's a collection of examples like this in our guide for you to refer to. After you've gone through and updated your allowances, there is also the deductions to think about. In particular, child support has had a change. The ATO are now collecting child support payment data on behalf of Services Australia. This must be reported as either child support, which is your standard child support deductions, or child support garnishee or garnishe, depending on what school you went to, which is a deduction made under a garnishee notice as per the Child Support Act. We have updated the deduction maintenance screen to allow you to create a separate deduction for each type. You just need to tick the right box. Next, we'll move over to cessation types. So when someone's employment has ended, there is now a new field called cessation type to complete when going through the termination wizard. I'll show you that now. So we're coming through to an open pay. We'll select someone at random, Carl Keating. Termination wizard. Yes, we'll terminate you. Sure, let's pay that balance. And then we flick through to the final screen. Here's that cessation type. And we just need to select an option here. There doesn't seem to be one for won the lottery, but I suppose that would probably go under voluntary. And as easy as that. So that's my whirlwind non-exhaustive tour of only some of the new STP changes in EXO Employer Services. Like I said before, our STP hub is live now, so head over and check it out for all the information you need. Now, I know the main question on everyone's mind is, when do we get this? Well, we're just in the middle of a pilot with a couple of sites, and once we've confirmed it's all good with no issues, we will release this out into the wild. So keep an eye out for that.